graduating
All
today.
right,
So those
6:30.
are our
Julie, would you mind
trips.
calling the roll, please?
Of course. Kara Caston.
Here.
Katie Courtney.
Here.
Ken Dawson.
Here.
Here. April Finan.
Here.
Don Runner.
Here.
And Romina Papavera Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you very much.
All right, having quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the minutes of the February 23rd, 2026 monthly business meeting, the February 23rd, 2026 closed meeting, the March 2nd, 2026 workshop meeting, and the March 2nd, 2026 closed meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And moves April 2nd.
Thank you. Ken Dawson.
Aye.
April Finan.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
Katie Courtney.
Aye.
And Don Runner.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 4, reception of visitors. Julie, do we have any slips?
No,
Okay. Item number 5, I'll turn it over to Hank, please.
All right, first one is Travis. This is an action item this evening, revisiting 10-year safety survey report.
Good evening. I just want to just remind you, we've just been through this with several different amendments that we did. So when we did the 2 amendments for our paving and for our energy conservation, it's a very similar process, right? Where we're submitting an amendment through IWIS to the ROE, that then they look at it. They'll either approve it or not after working through the different information that has been submitted from White. So this is in line with our 10-year life safety survey. So if you remember, we talked about this a couple meetings ago, I believe. So the snow load has changed, so we need some extra work that wasn't initially identified in our 10-year survey. So we are filing this amendment because we have enough funds in Fund 90. So if you remember, when we did the energy conservation and the paving, we had submitted our 2 projects, one here for solar and one at T99 for solar, that was not approved. So those funds, if you will, are still in Fund 90 that are available. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So things that we need to do tonight, asking the board to approve the report that is in there. And I know it can be a little bit confusing because it says 10-year, right? That is, every time you do an amendment, that's the name of the report. So then what we'll do, once we get that submitted, if it's approved, we'll just have to make sure and file paperwork to show that we got the work done with White's approval, and we can check that off. Go to the next slide, please. So our next steps, again, as I talked about, approve that application tonight, and then White and Company will submit our survey, the report in IWIS, and then we'll receive a final determination as to whether we can do that, use those funds or not. Again, just want to reiterate, new from the inspections that we did with our 10-year survey, and it is something that we have in Fund 90. We've already looked over all of that and made sure that that would be the case. So part of that, the other information that's not in here that is related to this work is also the bids that came in. So that is another action item tonight. That total bid package, again, that was for structural steel and demolition, which, if you remember, that was not bid on out of all of our bid packages. Those 2 were not. So White and Company solicited bids from 55 qualified contractors, and what came back as a result of that is just under $569,000 to get the needed work done for that, and part of that is the work that is related to this amendment. So any questions on any of those?
All right, so when we get to action tonight, you'll have the approval of the amendments of the life safety report and the bids that Travis outlined that are the contracts for that life safety work. All right. Moving on to the next part. This is always at this time of the year. the staffing and curriculum overview. I'm going to turn this over to Jeff, who's going to lead the parade for you this evening.
There you go, parade extravaganza, however you want to refer to it. But yeah, so we have our 26-27 staffing curriculum overview. We have a few sections here. First, just to chat a little bit about the overall picture for next year. So after many, many hours of sectioning, a lot of work by the two gentlemen to my right here, I will be introducing in a little bit. We have seen our overall sectioning FTE for next year is at 307.1, which for our sectioning FTE is a slight decrease from previous years. Although when you look at our non-sectioning FTE, or what we sometimes refer to as below the line, that has gone up for this coming school year. So overall, in terms of our total FTE, we're at an increase into next year of 1.6 staff in terms of total positions and people that we would need to bring in. In terms of a cost, though, it is offset a little bit because some of those numbers are coming up because of students that we are bringing back from outplacements and from other districts sending us students for Transition 99, which we will be gaining some tuition payments for that. So we actually will be seeing a reduction in our staffing cost relative, even though this number is going up slightly for next year. So to give you some of the details, you all had a copy of the spreadsheet with all of the numbers and how those are broken down. The yellow areas highlight that there was some type of change in that particular cell from last year. So whether it was an increase or a decrease, that's how all those things come together. And so for the next part here, to get you some more details and in the weeds, a little bit information on how some of these decisions were made. So again, sectioning FTE is based on student requests, enrollment, all of those things. Subsectioning FTE is not tied to those student requests. Those are more of our support type of positions, social work, psychologist, et cetera, et cetera. One of the highlights as well is we did add a multilingual coordinator. We're proposing that for next year, I should say, for your approval, which will help us coordinate some of our EL efforts and bilingual support throughout the district. So without further ado, to get into some more of those details, I will turn it over to Keith Pals, Jake Giblin, and Gina Zaccardi to give you a little more detail on how all those pieces came together for our FTE.
Okay, thanks. So as Jeff stated, this is literally hundreds of hours collectively put in, looking at student requests, our staffing needs, and coming together to provide students with as many opportunities as possible for courses next year. And the documents that I shared are really just a snapshot. At this point, it's a snapshot because things will evolve over time. And they'll evolve in a variety of different ways. So for example, in the memo that I provided, I stated that there were 8 courses that we are planning to cancel. That actually has already been reduced to 7 through creative, what we call stacking, when we take like different courses or levels of courses and put them together, same period, same teacher. And so even though we're bringing this information to you now, even beyond today, Jake and Keith are fantastic at looking at new and creative ways to meet the needs of all of our students. This is one of the years, at least that I've been involved in, well, I've been involved in this for a while, that we have fewer classes that we're moving for cancellation. On the other hand, we have more classes with under 20 that we would like to run next year. And whenever we have a standard course, and when I say standard, I mean there are some courses that we don't list on the under 20 list because enrollment in the course is expected to be less than 20. For example, a special education course, or an EL course, or an intervention course. Those we do not list. There would be a lot of courses listed if we were to do that. Because the expectation, and sometimes by law, is for under 20 students in a course. The ones that we list are what I would call our standard general education courses, and you'll notice we have more listed than in previous years. There's a variety of different reasons for that. Part of it is that we have a lot of really exciting courses, elective courses for our students. And while that's fantastic, it sometimes can lead students to going in a variety of different directions. So while, as you know from the memo, we have 43 courses, many of them are capstone courses, what we would consider capstone courses. Many of them are AP. So for example, whether it's an AP course stacked with other courses or a standalone, 10 of those courses are AP, 6 of them are dual credit, 3 are Project Lead the Way, and 19 are capstone courses. And so when we look at what courses we'd like to run with under 20, we oftentimes look not just at the numbers, but also the courses in terms of the pathway of courses, where they fit within the pathway, and how those courses impact students and their learning. For example, especially in world languages, where there might be a sequence of courses. Okay. So again, there may be some changes that occur. And not just because of creative scheduling, but as some courses are canceled or students can't get into a particular course, they might pick a different elective. So that also can increase and make changes along the way. Any questions on my part?
If AP Art History had a zero enrollment in 25-26, why is that a cancellation?
So AP Art History has one
In
request
North.
for this year. So we're canceling it.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about North right now.
At North. So we put zero whether it ran with a number or not. So if the course did not run, then it's automatically zero there.
So
Usually those,
You offered it last year, is what you're saying?
we offered students to enroll in it,
Uh-huh,
but if it was under 20
okay.
and we opted to cancel it, that number would be a zero. And AP Art History is one of the courses, and even with music theory, although not always at North with music theory, I know that, is one of those courses where we have talked about doing even alternate years, where we would plan to run, for example, in even years or odd years, so that students could plan, when they make their four-year plans, they would know when to plan to take those
So if we
courses.
cancel those courses this upcoming year in 27, 28, you're likely going to offer them, is what you're saying?
Typically, we have opened those courses every year for students to sign up or register to take. But we have had conversations, not just with our fine arts department chairs, but in some other areas as well, about offering things every other year so that students could plan better. Because we hate to cancel courses when there's students who want to take those courses, particularly when those students are rising seniors. Any questions? No? Okay. I don't know which one I'm turning it over
Who
to
we going?
first.
Who's first?
Keith or Jake, who would like to?
Oh, I guess I'm first. Hi, everyone. I'm Jake Giblin. I'm the Associate Principal for Curriculum at South High. I'm just going to kind of give you some highlights from what we saw in our scheduling. One of the things that came up on the south side is we have a projected loss of about 150 students going into next year relative to what we've had previously. And so that definitely had some impact, in particular on think of like global connections, English 1, your first year courses in your core departments in particular had some effects there. But what we also saw is where, regardless of the drop in students, where students are being drawn. We're very excited. Keith's going to speak about this too. We've got our first AP course that's offered for freshmen starting in our CT department, AP Business and Personal Finance. We have 3 sections of that running next year. We're very excited about that kind of start for that class. Our Fine Arts department keeps growing. We, despite having drops in numbers, we're adding 8 more sections to our Fine Arts department, 5 in music, 2 in theater, 1 in visual arts. AP Music Theory is running for the first time in a few years on our side of town, so we're very excited about that. In PE in particular, we've got our first year of EL Health, which was a need that we saw because we were running a Health 200 program, which was servicing 2 groups, but not as well as we think we could have. It was servicing students with IEPs and EL students, and what we've done is separated it so that the students with IEPs will go into co-taught Health 300 classes, and now our EL students will be serviced more directly within an EL Health class. We're going to run 2 sections of that next year, and we think we're going to do a great job with it. Our science department continues to see the PLTW courses, the Project Lead the Way courses are still drawing students in. We did not see a reduction in those at all, even with the drop in the number of students. Kids are loving them, and the teachers are doing a great job bringing kids in. Our AP Psychology, which this year went to a full year psychology course, went up from 4 to 6 sections next year. And incredibly excited about that. You're taking a semester to a full year, and we're still growing it. The kids are really enjoying that. One of the biggest switches we had was kind of in our world language and our EL population. Some of that is from the fact that our teachers are doing a great job. We've got a lot more level 3 and level 4 EL students, which is opening the doors for them to take TCD, which is great because it allows them to take advantage of courses that previously might not have had an opportunity to do. But that also means that they're leaving the building for some of the time, so that reduces some of the need for them in the building. And last, I would just really like to highlight and brag about the strength of our staff. Our staff has a lot of flexibility and diversity in what they can do. We've got teachers who are certified to teach in multiple areas. We've got teachers who are certified in English and music, in math and science, in math and art. We've got social studies in EL. We've got it across the board. And what that does, our ability to bring in those high-quality staff members who are able to teach in multiple departments gives us the ability to not only teach great things within their core content area, but it allows us to keep really good people in the building when we need flexibility within our schedule. And this is one of those years where we had it. And we're just really proud to be able to have those types of people working for us in this district and with our children and teaching them on a regular basis. And that's my highlights for right now. Any questions for me?
Good job, Jake.
Thank you.
My name is Keith Pales. I'm the Associate Principal for Curriculum Instruction at North High. So Jake is my counterpart at South. I would, very similar highlights. So our AP Business and Personal Finance also going to be kicking off with 3 sections, just as it will at South. That's awesome. Another highlight in the business realm would be we're going to be able to offer managerial accounting honors for the first time as a standalone course. We've been stacking it or running it with other courses in the past to serve those students, but we're able to, with the popularity of that, move forward with one section of that. I also want to highlight, and it is on the under 20 list, the accelerator course as well. So that's the year after the incubator course. There is a lower number of students taking that class, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the students in there represent 9 different businesses that they're moving forward with. So, and that's just really, really cool to hear that's happening within our building. In English, one of the things that we've been really working towards, actually post-COVID, is our radio and TV program, and our enrollment in those is up as well. So our radio program this year saw an increase of 40% in requests, and our TV saw an increase of 50% in requests. So that's really cool to see that that's coming back. Our fine arts numbers at North are also up, particularly in the vocal classes. So we're going from 96 requests last year to 167 going into next year. Our vocal team has been going out in the community and trying to bring younger kids in to see what it's like. They've been singing, they sing at one of the football games with the younger kids, like really trying to get them involved. And I'll tell you, they're having some success, so they should really be celebrated in all that they're doing there. Let's see, in math, I'd love to highlight that we're for the first time next year, we're going to be able to offer 4 different levels of math with an EL and math certified teacher in the room. And that is, the one teacher is certified in both mathematics and in EL. So that is fantastic. So 4 levels of that. We've been working, I think every year I've been with you, I've been kind of highlighting how our growth has been in our EL support for students, and this is a real highlight that we're proud of, to be able to offer that going into next year. Let's see, in science, we've just seen some shifts moving around. I think the big highlight there is going to be AP Chemistry. Requests are way up in AP Chemistry as well, moving into next year. In social studies, I know last year we went to AP Psych being a full year class, and we were wondering how that was going to work out. So I'm happy to report that we're going to continue with 4 sections going into next year, so that moving to a full year course didn't have any negative impact. In fact, I would say it had a positive impact on the kids and how they're able to take that class. In French, we're continuing to see some slight movement around, especially in German. I think I said French, I meant world languages, in world languages. We're seeing some moving around in French and in German. I would like to highlight specifically the French teachers this year have done some fantastic things with the French club and getting those students together to really try and keep kids in the program moving forward. So they've done some really awesome work there and have some good stories to tell about the extracurriculars and the co-curriculars they've been doing there. So that's.
So can I just ask, when you say you see movement, you mean decline in French and German?
So our German seems to be a little bit steady coming from
Okay.
last year this year, but our French has declined about 3%.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've been seeing that trend the last couple of years.
Do you see kids moving into other languages, or do you see kids moving out of language?
Don't see them moving into other languages, no, yeah.
Okay.
On the north side of town, are your teachers also multidisciplinary and able to teach in a variety of areas?
Oh, yes, yeah. And I think I would go back to my highlight about the EL certification there as well. That was big one of our pushes over the last couple of years, is when we're looking to fill a position that we're also looking for that EL certification to come in as well. We have teachers that are in between special education and mathematics. I'm trying to think of some specifics now that I'm on the spot. Math and science as well. So yes, yeah.
Oh, great, great.
On both sides of town, it looks like there's been a drop in AVID participation. Can you guys speak to that?
Yeah, the biggest drop we had was coming from last year's freshman, or our current year's freshman class, which was one of the bigger ones we had in a while. We had 31 last year. This year, I think we're at, let me pull it up real quick. We're
16
So when we did the interviews, and it's one of the things we'll be talking with our AVID coordinators and teachers about, are ways to bring more kids in, but when they did that initial interviewing, that process to bring students in did not have as many students as it had in the past. One of the things we need to look at is what are the kind of cutoffs that we are establishing, and do we need to rethink how we're recruiting for that program? What typically has happened, I'll speak to our side, is that there is some attrition from that first year to senior year in general. And there's not often a lot of replacement in the middle of the year. It doesn't mean some students as sophomores couldn't potentially go in, but it doesn't happen that often. And then when we had that precipitous drop from that freshman year overall, it had a big impact on the total numbers. But it is something we are talking about and will be talking about, just trying to see if we need to rethink what it means to be in that program and how we can keep it strong.
Yeah, it's such a successful program. Really impacts those kids. Hate to see the numbers dropping.
No, 100%. We're in agreement with you.
Is a topic we had a discussion and focus when we were doing sectioning, and we're
Yeah.
definitely keeping a close eye on it
Okay.
for future years.
But I'm glad that on both the north and the south side of town, even though the requests are below that 20 cutoff, we're moving forward with offering that program. I just think it's so important.
Oh, yes, and, we're excited. I just had the student come and find me in the middle of a meeting because they have to hand deliver the invitation for the senior banquet, which is just one of the best events of the year, and I'm looking forward to that coming up. And it is. They put so much effort and go through so much to get to that point, and it really builds really strong character kids and students who are going to be successful when they leave here. We do want to keep it strong.
You said you're down 150 students next year
About, yeah.
overall?
Yeah.
Does that have any, measurable reduction in overall class size on an average basis? Is that number gonna make a significant difference?
Well,
Class size.
I can tell you that if you look at our class size numbers right now that are projected, they are pretty low relative to some of the ones we had last year, but it depends on the class,
Okay.
right? So some of that is when you sit and you've got let's say it's 57 kids who sign up for the class and you've got a divisor for 28, so now you get 2.1 sections. Okay, well, if you run 3 sections, you're gonna have really low numbers. Some of that comes out with the divisors and how that plays out.
Okay.
Some of it, though, on the freshman level, we have set lower seat counts on some of our incoming freshman classes to try to help some of those out for the students first coming in. So,
What do our transfer numbers look like? Like, is that taken into consideration as we're looking at this decline of the 150? Just in, what do we see for kids coming in
if you give
year to
me-
year at the different high schools?
If you give me a second, I can.
While he looks for
Oh,
that,
some of
we
them.
do factor that
To
in
keep
from
in
year
some
to year,
seats.
and keep
I
seats
do.
available for classes that students typically transfer into as they come in at each grade level, especially in the 9th grade level. But it's still, it is a lot of chance. I think this year at North High, you had a bunch of move-ins into, what was it, AP Biology?
Yeah, so I can give you how we've been doing that at North is we'll take a look at a department overall, and I'll sit with the department chair and we'll go through projecting the number of sections for a particular class. And if the numbers aren't like a simple, like, oh, it would go this way or that way, what we've done is we'll take a look at what we sectioned at last year. So I'll go into last year's document, and then I'll pull up the actual roster for the class right now, and we'll look in real time as to where we sectioned and where we are to help inform us on what direction that we should advocate for the building on. So we might have a class that has had 6 or 7 requests or transfers in for that, for a level change going one way or the other. So we just try to use that to inform how we're trying to advocate for the building. And really, for me at least, it's on a section-by-section basis to see and to inform it.
Okay.
Yeah, the biggest change we had, in all honesty, this year was in the number of EL students transferring into South. We used to count on that if we started a class with 3 or 4, in particular in our newcomer and level 1 sections, we could be 8 to 10 easily by the middle of the year, and sometimes higher. We stayed flat. There was no movement at all. Overall, in terms of transfers the last 5 years, it nets out that we lose 8 students a year over the last 5 years on ours, right? We get a certain number that transfer in, then we get a certain number that transfers out, and it's been netting at about 8 less per, just from the transfer numbers, right? So we'll get a decent influx in August, and we'll get a good outflow in May. And so those numbers tend to even out. And so when we're looking at, from the time we sit at the table, so from March to August, so we've set our numbers, and then who knows what happens from there. We pretty much are awash at South in terms of the number of kids that leave and come in from the time we section. So we don't have a lot of movement that tells us if we section it here, we better make sure that we have a certain amount of space, because we're kind of evening out throughout the process.
We actually had one class that was exactly that the chair had been seeing what the levels down were, but hadn't seen what was going into the class, and it actually turned into a +1 over the course of the year, but they'd only been seeing half of it, so, yeah.
Thank you.
But in sections where we typically see move-ins, we make sure that there's enough space
Yeah.
for that. Or enough elective options or those kinds of things, so that we have seats for students that show up. So.
Okay, and before I move on, I just want to again recognize, the work that Jake and Keith are doing, and I forgot to mention earlier, like our department chairs who have a big a lot of input on how these things break down. They mentioned the flexibility that our staff have. I've been really impressed over the last couple of years, seeing how many of our staff have gotten or are seeking to get their EL endorsements, which has been, over the last several years, an area of growing need for us. So that's really great to see. And just the work of everybody around the table who come together for this process, and like I said, the people who do the work outside of it, because, it's a lot of very difficult conversations happen at the table in terms of make sure that we're providing our students with the opportunities that we have, that we can for them, that we can provide for them, that we are being fiscally responsible of the district and taking into account the human factor of all of those things. So thankfully, we're having a much more typical conversation around this than other communities are right now. So I feel very grateful for that and for all the people involved in that process who may, do this with a lot of intentionality and care. So I just wanted to make sure I emphasize that. And speaking of intentionality and care, I'm going to pass it on to Scott Wugazer to tell us a little bit more about CSSS and Special Student Services.
All right, thank you. So for instructional FTE at North High, we're seeing a decrease in .1, which is just coming from a co-taught class shifting this year. At South instructionally, we have a .2 increase. We're bringing back a block section of the Read 180, so we're excited about that to provide that intervention and programming. And then South also has an increase in speech therapy needs, so we're increasing our FTE there. T99 is obviously our biggest one, where we're seeing the increase of students from this year to next year. If you recall, a few years back, we've increased our multi-needs programming at both of the buildings, and so that's obviously moving students to T99. We also are taking students from, like I think Jeff mentioned and Hank's mentioned before, outplaced students that weren't in the high school 9th through 12th grade, but coming back to us from outplacements. And then we're also supporting other school districts and having students attend T99. So we have a big increase next year. So the breakdown of that 4.4 is the 3.6 FT for instructional, 0.4 for vocational coordinator, and then the 0.4 psychologist. And then with CSSS, we have no changes for this coming school year. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
What other districts are we getting students from?
Yeah, just from the surrounding area, actually. We had Carolina going back has had some connections. So they're just local districts near us, so that are the numbers just keep increasing. We started out years ago having maybe one or two districts, and now we're having, I think we're at 4 districts. So.
All right, any other questions for Scott? All right, Joe.
All right, I'm back. So just to kind of round out the rest of the paperwork from your packet around staffing for this year, and those are also things listed up there. So first of all, we do have our release of non-tenured teachers, and those typically, so we have the honorable dismissals. Those are, if you looked at the packet, those are all part-time staff. And what happens there is that's usually all those situations, there's a shift in the FTE. So because the FTE has changed, we then need to honorably dismiss them because the FTE they currently have is not necessarily available or in the same amount. So many of those staff are going to be offered different part-time FTE going next year. They'll return to us. Some of them are applying for full-time positions that have developed as all of these things have shaken out sectioning. So that's what those folks are on that list for. Then we do have the other ones that are the non-renewals. There's 2 of those. One is a leave of absence that is a different situation. They're just here to cover somebody. And sometimes, this is the case this year, sometimes we have one that isn't exactly the best fit, and we move forward and as we do. Then on terms of the other things you have there, obviously from the consent agenda and our personnel report are all of the renewals for next year. And so what I want to point out there is you have everything from 2nd year to 5th year renewals. And so obviously those are all people moving into their 2nd or 5th year with the district. This is the last year you'll see a 5th year renewal because this is the last year for the people on the old tenure track before the law changed. So some people are just wrapping up their 4th year as a non-tenured teacher and are being recommended for renewal for next year. So they'll start next year as tenured teachers in District 99. There are some people who are being recommended for 4th year. They may have been on the 3-year track, and they're being recommended for renewal. Some of those people who are being recommended for their 4th year might be on the old, no, I guess they wouldn't be on the old track, because they might have had 3 excellence, which would have made them the not portable, but accelerated tenure. But so this is the last year we got to kind of walk in both camps there, which I'm looking forward to, and Wendy is too, keeping track of who's on which system. So starting next year, everyone who's being recommended for tenure will be from the new 3-year model, which allows them to attain it after their 3rd year, or as early as 2 years if they have 2 excellence with what I mentioned earlier is accelerated tenure. So those are all of the things that are before you for your approval this evening. Are there any other general questions about staffing whatsoever? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we move on, I just want to point out a couple of things. First of all, thank you to the whole team that pulls this together. As we opened with, it is hundreds and hundreds of hours. It's days and days of meetings. It starts with our teachers working with our students on recommendations and requests and builds all the way up to today. So it is the entire school community that leads this. This is parents involved talking to their kids about what classes to take. This is a huge effort at our schools. Secondly, I just want to point out that the work that the board has done throughout the year and previous years to have a strong fiscal position in the district has led us to a point where we have this opportunity to run just a whole list of courses of under 20 students and giving kids opportunities to experience things that could change their futures because they had the opportunity to engage in that content with a staff member that might just ignite a passion that changes their pathway leading forward. Other districts are fiscally not in positions. If you look across the state of Illinois right now, across the country, they are cutting. And the fiscal responsibility of the board here and this community's support leads us to having these opportunities, and this is where you get to see that pay off at the core of what we do, right? So we're very proud of not just the work that goes into this, but all of the work in all that we do that creates these opportunities for our kids here in District 99. And then just some of the mechanics, as Jeff mentioned, down below in the agenda tonight. Between now and when you take action in the consent agenda for the things that Jeff talked about is a public hearing that allows the public to address us about any of those reductions that we're making. As Jeff mentioned, the variety of reasons for there, but by state law, if we're making those kinds of changes with more than 5 people, we need to provide the opportunity for the public to comment on those changes. So we'll go into that public hearing in a little bit that will allow anybody to comment on our riffs and changes. The big takeaway is the bottom line there for you. We are able to do all of this, offer all of these opportunities, be up 1.6 FTE in people, but still be down in cost, primarily as the work that Scott mentioned that's happening over at T99 to return our own students to us at a lower cost and to bring in some other students and service those and have an alternative form of revenue that we predicted when we expanded T99 years ago. So thank you to the entire team for pulling it all together and for the board and community support to get to this point. Any last minute questions on that?
Jeff, there's only 2 teachers were entirely let go, is that what I heard you say correctly?
So technically, all of them are being riffed or reduced in force. Some of them are the honorable dismissal, so they are being fully reduced, but they may be offered part-time positions again because the FTE has gone up or down. So some of them may be a 0.4, but they're being offered a 0.6 for next year if they wish to take that. Some people want part-time, some people might be looking for a full-time job. Some of those were people that we're very happy with, and the position that was a lower FTE now because of shifting has turned into 1.0. So I know that's true in at least one case where I know that that person is applying for our now 1.0 position. The way our hiring practices work is then that person gets to immediately advance to the second round because we've already essentially vetted them for the past year, and obviously has a strong inside track. But whenever we have a full 1.0 position, we always post it wide to the public at large because you're going to attract a different group of people than you would for the previous year's part-time position. So the other ones, like I said, one is a leave of absence that it's not a change in FTE, it's just they were covering that for us, so we do need to release them. And then the other one is a staff member who, just like I said, didn't do bad, but it's just not the right fit, so we're moving forward.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions? Okay.
All right. And then moving on to the next topic, this is a topic the board has been well informed about over the last year. We've spent a lot of time discussing it and sharing memos with the board on this topic. We are at the point of bringing you the intergovernmental agreement between us and the Village of Woodridge. We've worked with the board's attorneys and in cooperation with the other elementary districts that are impacted by this TIF. So this TIF agreement is for your first review this month. So it gives you a month to kind of take a look at it, ask any questions you have in that agreement, and we can discuss through it. The board's attorneys and the administration believe that this agreement is very strong and protects us in more ways than what a school district typically would get in a TIF coming into their community. So we recommend that when we come back next month, at this point, that the board approves it. We just want to give the public and the board time to review that final document before approval. This document contains information the board has already received at this point of what protections are inside of that. At this point, I'll take any questions that are emanating out of the final agreement. If not, it'll come back. Of course, you can ask questions between now and next month, but otherwise it'll be on the agenda next month for approval. So with that all being said, any questions on any of these topics that I could address?
Do you have any projections on the number of kids that we might be servicing from this development?
That has been the great challenge in this TIF, is that there really isn't a long-range plan associated with it. There's a lot of potential ideas and plans inside of it. So even areas where they're talking about it could be housing, we don't know if it'll be senior targeted, senior restricted, if it'll just be general housing, what type of housing options they'll offer there. So that's why this is really built that way, to offer, like, we get a certain cut off the top. If it becomes residential that impacts us, we get a higher cut of that, and there's even openers to go to the table and discuss impact if there's a greater number of students than we can absorb as a result of any new residential areas.
And this development would impact South's enrollment, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all in South's enrollment.
And the incentives from this plan, when they come back to the district, it's just the district as a whole. It's not as though we're allocating those funds directly to South.
Correct. These would come through it's its own independent funding mechanism.
Okay.
The TIF would pay us directly as a result of these changes, should new money be generated as a result of the development. If there's no new money generated as a result of it, there's nothing to pay us with, right? So it's just a lot of mechanics. Should development occur, should new revenue be generated in that TIF district, and should that be generated from residential property, we get a larger portion of the revenue that's generated.
Which makes sense, because.
Right, there's a larger impact on us.
Yes.
And the village was very understanding of that from the jump. It was just how we do this mechanically within this intergovernmental agreement.
Okay, so if it's commercial development within that district, we're not gonna see the increment.
You'd still see off the top, so 8% of any increment gets distributed amongst the taxing bodies. So we don't get a full 8% of that, we get a relative proportional cut of that increment. So any new funds, even if it's just because of rising property values in the area, we won't be frozen for that for 23 years. That's how long this TIF lasts. We'd still see some of that just natural revenue generation, but if there's massive improvements along this 75th Street corridor that brings in a lot of new revenue in the form of property taxes to our community, we could see a significant amount. Of course, development in industrial and commercial is always better for us as schools because there's new money without more overhead, right? Which is why this is built this way, that if it does also come with residential, where there could be new property taxes resulting in it, we'll still get some. A TIF by its nature would give us zero, right? So this gives us some of that new revenue. And if we can demonstrate that that revenue isn't keeping up with our facilities or our needs, we can go back and ask for a demonstrated cost. We'd be able to go back and make the case. There isn't a guarantee that we would get additional if our needs outgrew this agreement, but there's at least, a pathway to that discussion if it's reasonable that there are great costs as a result of a residential development. Any other questions?
And so in the next meeting, what we're voting on
Would
is
be
how,
this agreement.
how you're voting on,
No, this would be you authorizing me to sign this agreement.
oh, to sign
next
it.
month.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
All right, this has been a lot of work this year, and just to give the Village of Woodridge credit, their administrative team has put in the work with us to understand our concerns and to try to come to an agreement that, with the uncertainty, gives us some certainty. All right. for
Actually,
your-
one last question. So are we the school district that's most heavily impacted by this TIF in terms of?
Most heavily is a relative term. I would say most impacted proportionally would be District 66, Cass. Most impacted with size of the parcel, we are the only school district that's impacted by the entire.
Okay, okay.
All right, FOIA requests, we receive them, we fill them and put them up on the website, and they can be reached at that link.
Okay, item number 6, public hearing. The next agenda item is a public hearing on the proposed reduction in force of teachers. This hearing is held in line with Section 24-12 of the Illinois School Code, which provides for the hearing when the number of teachers to be reduced due to economic necessity is greater than 5 or 150% of the average number of teachers honorably dismissed in the preceding 3 years, whichever is more. While the reductions contemplated later in this evening's agenda are not based on economic necessity, we are holding the hearing with the intent of giving both the teaching staff and the public notice of layoffs and the opportunity to express their views. To be clear, the reductions in force contemplated later in this evening's agenda will not impact educational programming and are not based on economic necessity. Rather, these reductions are based on course selections for the upcoming school year. Do we have any members of the audience who would like to approach and provide some comments? Okay, hearing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Ken moves, April seconds.
Thank you. Ken Dawson,
Aye.
April Finan.
Aye.
Kara Caston,
Aye.
Katie Courtney,
I,
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries, public hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Next item is the consent agenda. Before the board votes on the consent agenda, is there any agenda item a board member would like to pull out of the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes item A, personnel report, 2026-27 fifth-year full-time renewals, 2026-27 fourth-year full-time renewals, 26-27 third-year full-time renewals, 2026-27 non-tenure full-time renewals, 2026-27 non-tenure part-time renewals, appointment administration, appointment classified, and transfer of position classified. Item B, personnel report, resignation certified, resignation classified. Item C, February treasurer's report and financial pages. Item D, student trips. Item E, Illinois High School Association membership from July 1st of 2026 through June 30th of 2027. Item F, proposed revised 2026-27 calendar. And item G, proposed 2027-28 calendar.
So moved.
April moves.
Second.
10 seconds.
Thank you. April Finan.
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Kara Caston,
Aye.
Katie Courtney,
I,
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item 8, recommendations for action. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to adopt the resolution authorizing notice of honorable dismissal of non-tenured teachers other than final year probationary teachers, and that the president and secretary be authorized to sign the same?
So moved.
Kara moves.
Second.
10 seconds.
Thank you. Kara Caston,
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
April Finan.
Aye.
Katie Courtney,
I,
and Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. I think
Thank you.
Kara's right next to me and probably heard it sooner. Item B, can I get a motion from the Board of Education to adopt the resolution authorizing notice of non-renewal to non-tenured teachers other than final year probationary teachers, and that the president and secretary be authorized to sign the same?
So moved.
second,
April moves, Katie seconds.
Thank you. April Finan.
Aye.
Katie Courtney,
Aye.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item C, can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve the 10-year safety survey report?
So moved.
Second.
Ken moves, Katie seconds.
Thank you. Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Katie Courtney.
Aye.
April Finan.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Item D, can I get a motion from the Board of Education to approve contracts for life safety work at North High and South High in the aggregate amount of $568,956?
So moved.
Second.
And
Ken
Katie.
moves, Katie seconds.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Katie Courtney.
Aye.
April Finan.
Aye.
Kara Caston.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries. Yeah, Hank, did you want to make an introduction?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. First, congratulations to all of our teachers that are returning for next year and for all their hard work getting there. Also, as part of tonight's action items, the board approved Travis's replacement for next year with Dr. Amanda Broderico, who is here this evening with us. I'll have her stand up and do that.
I said to Hank that being from Elmwood Park, I was hoping they'd bring some Johnny's beef with you.
You have an assignment now. All right, moving on. We also have for you this evening new business on first reading of policies. The policy committee met last week and reviewed all of these policies. Many of them in here are clerical cleanup in nature. Let's see, one of them is one that was brought to us from Board Member Caston in result of conversations at Lend, and that's 2.140, communications to and from the board, that outlines some social media and advertising requirements related to board members and board member candidates. That was reviewed by the administration and the board's attorneys in there. So that checks one off the list that's been there for a couple of months. Otherwise, most of it is cleanup related to either clerical changes or changes in state or federal law. These will return next month for approval. If you have any questions between now and then, you can reach out to me. Don's on the policy committee and Chris is on the policy committee, and happy to address any of your questions between now and then, unless you have something pressing right now that you would like for us to talk about.
Hearing none. Item 11, reception of visitors. Julie, do we have any slips?
No, sir.
Item 12, communications. Can I get a report on Len, Kara?
Oh, just had we have a meeting coming up. So basically, where a lot of legislation is out there that we're discussing, I would say the big ones are, the governor is likely going to push forward a cell phone policy. But the good news about that is whatever does pass, we are grandfathered in any school district that has a policy till 2030, I think it is.
Yep.
And then you have to modify your policy to go along with the statewide policy.
Is there a draft of that policy that's?
Well, there's a draft of the policy, but there isn't anything finalized yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the drafts that you're seeing, is there anything that's like markedly different than what we're already providing?
Some pieces depending also on how the rules interpret those things.
Okay.
If like one of the things they're talking about is like secure storage. Well, are cubbies secure storage or does it need to be locked? Right, that depends on what you
Okay.
interpret secure storage,
Okay.
right? So.
And
or
access to the
things
phone
like-
during the day, how
Right.
like,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, is it instructional time determined by the teacher, or is instructional time from the bell to the bell? All right, so we're just waiting to see kind of how some of these pieces shake out, depending on the interpretation, the language that's finalized, and then rulemaking around the interpretation of that language. It may align completely with our current policy, or lead to us at some point down the road needing to reevaluate our policy,
Nevertheless, we'll have a couple of years of runway.
Yeah,
if we need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and then I would say we're focused obviously on the mandated categoricals, getting funding for that. And I also lead the federal committee within Lend, and while, you know, schools are not, you know, majority of their funding is at the state level, given a lot of the cuts that are coming at the state level. It's really critical that we keep the federal funding that is in place there, so we're really focused on that. And the federal committee within LEND has a meeting at the end of the month with some of the members of Congress in the DuPage area to talk about our priorities for federal legislation and hopefully get them to sort of, you know, support them back in DC. So those were some of the,
Yeah, there's 1,009 bills proposed that impact education right now. So it is a lot that the various educational advocates that we work with are combing through. Myself and my peer superintendents are spending a lot of time looking at legislation and trying to understand its impact on our individual school districts right now. So it is a busy time of the year when it comes to LEND and IHSDO and IASA and all of the different groups that support us with this legislation.
Okay. I'm going to skip SACID because Chris is not here unless you want to provide any update.
We have a board meeting this week. It's really the same kinds of things we're having here, staffing, facilities, those kinds of things are the main topics of discussion right now.
April or Katie, do you have anything to report on the foundation?
No, we haven't met since our last update. We have a meeting this Wednesday.
And anything to report on IASB?
IASB Advocacy Day is in Springfield on March 25th, which should be a great opportunity for people to see different speakers, seminars, network with the legislative members. So that's a great opportunity. Also, we were talking about the different bills. There's a bill being proposed to create a new pathway for paraprofessionals who are on temporary licenses to get permanent licenses once their temporary one expires. So that is an initiative that IASB is strongly supporting because there is a severe shortage of paraprofessionals throughout the state of Illinois.
I think that was heard in committee today and made it out of committee, so.
Great, yeah.
I have nothing to report on my position as liaison to the Village of Downers Grove. Okay, upcoming board meetings. The next board meeting will be April 6, 2026. Actually, that's been
That one's canceled. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's canceled.
So our next board meeting will be April 20th, 2026, our monthly business meeting here at the ASC at 6:30 PM. Item number 14 is closed session. Can I get a motion from the Board of Education to go into closed session for Open Meetings Act exception number 1 for personnel and Open Meetings Act exception number 2 for collective negotiating matters?
So moved.
second.
Ken moves, Kara seconds.
Thank you. Ken Dawson.
Aye.
Sarah Caston.
Aye.
Katie Courtney.
Aye.
April Finan.
Aye.
And Don Renner.
Aye, motion carries, and for the members of the public, the board will be taking action on the item noted in the agenda when it comes out of closed session. All right. Let's take a short break and we'll